Charles I gave people portraits painted by Van Dyck. The embassy has given a portrait painted that looks pretty rotten. Is that fair, or am I being mean?
I think absolutely fair. You know, King Charles I, as our current king, was a great patron of the arts. Of course, the Royal Collection Trust, in large part, was started there. As you'll see on the wall behind me, you'll be able to see my own family portraits of various ancestors of mine. So you'll know that artistically, I rather favour more traditional, dare I say, conventional portraits. And when I first heard that a coronation portrait was being gifted to the ruling family in Dubai, I immediately thought, of Alan Ramsay's glorious portrait of King George III, or Luke Fildes' portrait of Edward VII, or even Annie Goni's celebrated portrait of Her Late Majesty. So you can imagine my surprise when I saw this explosion of pink pop art. And I immediately thought of Sir Winston Churchill's 80th birthday presentation at Westminster Hall. On November the 30th, 1954, the combined Houses of Parliament, Commons and Lords, assembled to present him with a portrait that they had commissioned from Graham Sutherland. And when the sheet came down and the portrait was seen by all, there was an audible gasp from the crowd there. And the Churchill was visibly hurt by the sickly greens and yellows and the hint of an undone fly button. But without missing a beat, he said, "The portrait is a remarkable example of modern art." And I think that applies in this case too.
Yes, it also seems an extraordinary muddle with sort of random hearts all over it. It struck me, I'm afraid, as a bit Rolf Harris, but perhaps that's too unkind.
Can you tell what it is yet? I don't think we can tell what it is yet. The king sort of sits in this portrait like a rock of stability, as the monarchy should do, around the chaos of the modern world. That's the best one can really say about it. And I've looked into this artist's other works, and I appreciate the intention was to show His Majesty's varied interests and beliefs. But to me, yes, this looks pretty much like sort of an end-of-term project by a second-year student in an art school. And several years ago, I was in Dubai, and I was honoured to be invited to the private office of Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai. And when you go in there, you see a few portraits of these UAE royals, and they're notable for how distinguished they look and how they're pictured in very regal positions, designed to show their status. And all I could think of was how they would receive such a picture, particularly because if you look to the left of His Majesty's head, you'll see a couple of bare feet. Now, in Arab culture, showing the soles of one's feet is a sign of huge disrespect.
Oh dear. Thank you, Rafe.